will discuss why we stream there. We will discuss about that and what alternatives there are to maybe not stream on these platforms, and why is maybe not that great to stream on these platforms, and why it's not that great to stream on these platforms. We post all of our videos, all of our TROM-Casts on tromsite.com/videos. Because we after the stream we upload them on Internet Archive and then we post them there, so you can find them there too. And we can go straight into the subject now. And let me introduce you some people who are new to TROM and of course new to TROM-Cast. First is Amulet, and he's from USA, and he creates some of those services that are alternative to Google and Facebook and so forth. And can you tell us a bit about what do you do and why do you do it? If you can introduce yourself a bit,
Okay, I'll try to be brief. I run open source web applications and make them available to anyone for free. And I do it for a variety of reasons. There are a lot of privacy disrespecting services online, such as Google, Facebook, all the rest. And I think that should change. So I try to do my part and allow people to use privacy respecting services without having to pay for them.
That's great. And your services where are they located? What's the URL of the
nixnet.services?
Perfect. And we will go like one by one, maybe to all of those services, and a bit later on. But thank you. That's great. And we have another guest. Hi there. I don't know your name, but can you introduce yourself a bit? And how did you come across this TROM-Cast? Because we don't know each other. So can you tell us a bit? It's you create. How do you know about TROM-Cast, or why? Are you familiar with the subject that we discussed today and so forth?
Is that me? Or
yes, it's you.
Oh, okay, who you're referring to? Yeah. So my name is Dan, and I just got invited yesterday, I think, by email, probably by you. I don't know who.
Yes.
Yeah, and I basically run a platform that is promoting the gift economy for 2 years now. It's called the Freevolution. And what I basically do, I'm going to tell you how I started. So in the beginning, I just came across permaculture. I don't know if any one of you is familiar with that subject. But permaculture basically is a life design, you can say, that is in tune with nature. So it focuses a lot on how we deal with resources and where we get our resources from, which also includes how we deal with each other. So these guys who invented permaculture, they found out that when we try to be environmentally friendly, then we won't be able to do that if we continue the separation that capitalism is enforcing on us. So it always needs to include people, and it needs to include fair share. And through that, I came across the gift economy of which Charles Eisenstein promotes, and I figured it sounds lovely, and this is what needs to be done. Otherwise, we won't really have a chance to change anything in this world. So I just put it all in action, and I which I call the free passes, and those free passes I hand out to the people that came to me as guests, and what it suggests is that they also pass it on. So it's a very simple pay it forward scheme, where people don't give back to me, but they pay to someone else. So I don't accept donations or payments in any form. I just ask people to pass it on, which therefore promotes the idea of the gift economy and lets it grow. So these cards are trackable. They all each have numbers, individual numbers, so you can see where the free passes went, and therefore we perpetuate the gift economy. Now I even hold talks about that. I go to schools and introduce students to that system, and that's mainly what I do. And recently I also started a web design company that basically acts on these principles too.
Okay. In this TROM-Cast, we are going to focus more on the, of course, on these online tools that we and others have created. So let's see. I'm not sure if you are familiar with these tools, but we were going to introduce them and we're going to talk about them because they also resonate more than a bit with the so-called gift economy. People created these things, they gift them basically, don't expect anything in return. And of course, Alexio, who participated before in TROM-Cast, and he's part of the TROM team for a while now. He's always there, always. Sometimes I like I told you, I suspect that you are a very ingenious bot there, and now we harness all of Alexio's powers, and we created this new project for TROM as if we didn't have enough. It's called. Can you Alexio? Can you say something about the new project?
Yes. First of all, hello everybody. Happy to see you here. I'm Alexio. I was involved in various projects as a volunteer online since many years, but I found Theo's project, TROM project, one of the most interesting projects, and which provides a satisfaction to promote directly every idea in a concrete way, in a practical way, not only contributing something and not getting the right feedback about your contribution. And this is what I like about this project, and my idea was to help with the stuff I know, like creating some useful platforms, websites, based of course on the open source projects, and offer these to everybody trade free. So there is no obligation, there is no strings attached.
That's great, and we're going to discuss more about all of these individual projects that we also installed, because we got inspired in one way or another by Amulet and people like him and the projects that they're doing. It's a community there of people who have their own websites through which they provide these services. I didn't know about this until I got into one of these websites by mistake. I don't know how. Probably Alexio, he sent me to some of these websites, and I was like, okay, you unwrap more and more of these projects, which is fantastic. But before we explain to people, because some are not technical and they think, okay, what are you guys talking about, right? What's so wrong? And I'll ask you guys this: what's so wrong with, or what is so bad to use Google, to use I don't know, Yahoo, Facebook, Instagram? What Amulet? For example, why do you do these tools? What's wrong with the tools that are already there? Why do you want to make something that's better in your view? Why is better what you're trying to do? Yeah.
With Google's business model, you are the product. You don't have to pay for it, but they are collecting and tracking your personal information, building a profile on you, and then selling that information to third-party advertisers. And that's a big privacy invasion that I personally dislike, and I know a lot of other people dislike as well. But open source services such as, Cirx, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Nextcloud, all the rest, those aren't tracking, and they give the user more freedom.
Yeah, exactly. I was aware of such things for many years, and I was, because everybody says you are the product. If something is free in this world, probably you are the product there. And the way that I started to maybe translate this in my own way is like YouTube or Facebook, they are money free, but they are not data free. For example, you have to give your own data, or you have to give your own attention, right? Because they put ads in your face. You have to see those ads in order to get access to this service. And this creates a lot of problems. Is one, like you said, is invasion of privacy. Like, many people don't even know. My parents use Facebook. They have no idea what Facebook collects about them, right? And when they ask what's the problem with that, well, they influence you. They influence, I don't know, what to follow, from political parties to whatever ideas, even they influence you what to buy or when to buy it. And we will give you a bunch of examples today of how they do that. It's also a very bad incentive for the companies themselves, because if what you want is people's data or their attention, you don't care as much about the users as you care about collecting their data. So your service is going to always shift, towards making profits, So I think it's there are a plethora of problems around this notion of today's free concept. That's why I kind of hate this idea of like, oh, Facebook is free, Google is free, Google Maps is free, so many free things. No, I'm always having like, my blood is boiling when I hear this from people. No, it's not free. It's not free. They want something from you. That's why we call this thing with trade. It's like, you have to trade. If you don't give something to them, they don't let you officially on their platforms. Yes, there are ad blockers and so forth, but that's not, in their view, probably that's illegal. You're not allowed to block. And I know that Chrome, because it's owned by Google, might have a big say in allowing or not allowing ad blockers and so forth. That's why many people start to use Mozilla. And one more thing, and before I put this weight on other people, like Alexio, for example, I was creating this book two years ago called Origin of Most Problems. And by the way, everything we do, we create books and videos, so forth, we put it out there. We don't care. You take it, whatever you want to do with it, we don't care. Don't collect anything, data, and so forth. And I was looking who owns the internet, right? From China to Russia, from US to, and it was a big research that I've done, in the sense that I really had to read through lots of documents and so forth. And it's amazing how just like 10 or so companies own pretty much all of the platforms in the world where people put their photos, discuss with others, put their videos and so forth. I mean, tell me, who is competitor to YouTube or to Facebook and Instagram or WhatsApp, because they are the three under the same umbrella. They have almost no competition, except some in China and some in Russia, where they are banned with those services. But they created their own monopolies there too, so they have no. So Alexio, are you bothered by these practices of these companies? Are they really that bad, or you disagree? And maybe they're not that bad.
Actually, I'm working for my job with some of the platforms owned by Microsoft, Google, maybe Facebook, and other big companies. And this is sometimes imposed by the other users, the students, the other people I need to get in touch with. They are used with these platforms, and actually, if I want to be in touch with these people, I have to use this. From my point of view, there are some issues, bigger or smaller, depending on which functionalities we are using from each platform. For example, we are very comfortable to use the email from Gmail. I guess most of us have or had such an account. But if we are a bit curious to investigate some of the functionalities offered by the Google account, we learn that they are monitoring not only our content, and based on that they deliver some ads, but sometimes they are tracking our location based on our mobile phone, and maybe we don't want to have some of this information stored to know each step we take every day, every country we visited, at which date, every location. In some situation, it may be useful. Maybe I lost my phone, and I can use such a functionality to learn
Track
where
it.
it is, to track it. And actually, I used a few years ago such a functionality offered by Samsung for the mobile phone. The phone was forgotten in a room, but it was muted. And using their service, I managed to remember where it was, the phone, and
To track it, huh?
So it may be in some situations useful to have these services enabled, but in some other situation it can bother some people to be to share some data. They think it's okay for the moment, but in some situation it's not okay for them to let everybody know they are in a certain location at a certain time. So it's about privacy, I think, and it's about choice. And some of these companies don't offer this choice. By default, we need to agree their very long license agreement and terms of use. And usually every user doesn't have the time or the knowledge to understand all the details. And usually myself or others, we just click OK, we agree with everything, just let us use this service for free if possible. But what I learned, some services like the ones offered by Gmail offer some paid options. And what's interesting, when we pay, we have some advantages. There are no ads. Maybe they are offering more options to limit the monitoring they are imposing to the free users. So actually it's about trade. And what we are trying to do with our project, and we see other projects, is to offer alternative tools which give users a choice to limit this surveillance put in place by the big companies. So if you ask what is my point of view regarding the commercial services which are tracking the users, from one perspective, we have to use some of these services because most of our partners, of our collaborators use this, and we are somewhat forced to use a similar tool. But in some other situation, we should have a choice, and we maybe showcase, look, there is a better service, a free one, we are not tracked, and you can even install very easily some tools on your computer, on your server, and be free of this limitation imposed by some commercial services. So my opinion, it depends on the context. So I let you give your feedback. It's better, I think.
Yeah, of course, in today's society, they are starting to sell now privacy. You want privacy. Like they offer this very this service that is tracking you and mining your data and pushing ads into your face, but then they sell you one that is clean. Probably that's where we are heading. I think that's what's going to happen with cars. And why is this important is because what we talk about is not only just videos, or some text documents and so forth. This digital world is merging more and more with the physical world through these so-called smart devices, the Internet of Things. I will not be surprised if in the future, your car will not start unless you see a 15-second ad, or that's going to be like I've seen like some Tesla, they disabled it remotely, so they have a lot of control not only about the things that you watch. Because have you seen, for example, have you guys noticed, this is what I noticed, that people think that the digital world is always just for almost like kids and just photos and videos. It's not that important, Amolit, how do you in your life deal with explaining why this is important to people around you? Are you successful in doing that, or are they just not caring? Maybe it's you that you're the weird one with those Zurichs and services.
That is generally the case. Most people just don't care, and it's very difficult to explain it to them. But one of the things I bring up fairly often is, it was sometime last year, but a man was wrongfully convicted for a murder because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when the police contacted Google to get the location history of everyone that was in the area at that time, where their phones were, and he was wrongfully convicted because his phone reported that he was in that location, and he didn't know to turn that off because it was on by default. But he was still convicted for it. And he was eventually freed after everything was worked out, but he still had to pay all those legal costs. And that's on his permanent record and everything. And that's one of the things I mentioned.
Yeah, and it's not probably an isolated case, because I've heard of others through Alexa when they forced Amazon to give the Alexa's recordings from a house, and they again got it wrong with some other people. I even I think I mentioned this in the last TROM-Cast, but Amazon owns this company called Ring. You have a camera on your outside door, and the police in some regions of US can have access to that footage in case they want to. They have access to that, and it's an easy way to abuse people, without them saying and have anything to say. And these alternatives that we are going to talk about are they don't have any incentive to push these things onto you. Like, for example, this opt-in and opt-out idea of you use Google, you are already opted in for pretty much all of the surveillance. With open source, it's usually the case that you have to opt in to send and it's always, most of the time, anonymized data. So that's what I really love. But I'm sure you guys, probably most of you, do use Google and YouTube and these big like Facebook social platforms, because I gave up. I don't use Google. I don't use YouTube. That's why I made Cody make this stream on YouTube. I don't want to touch that thing. You, Cody, you can touch that thing. I don't want anything to do with it. So Amolete or others, do you guys still are forced to use, because Alex just said that because he's a teacher, he's a professor, he will be forced to use some of these tools, but are you guys forced to use some of these tools that you really don't like to use?
Other than school, no. I've deleted my Google account. I deleted my Facebook account like 3-4 years ago, something like that. Never had a Twitter. But school, all of the schools I've ever been to, middle school, elementary school, high school, and college, they're all Google campuses that everything is done with Gmail, Drive, Meet, Hangouts, the works. It depends on the context, like Alexio said.
Yeah.
But in general, no, I don't have to deal with them.
What about your Cody?
Kind of whatever's like I remember joining Facebook because that's what everybody, you had the MySpace account, so you made a MySpace account and then you went to Facebook. It's almost like you'll isolate yourself if you're not using these tools, basically. So there's like that, there's a fear of missing out component, and then just that everybody's on there, so it's like I'll go too. Yeah, why not? That's where all my friends are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
in addition to that, the problem is that with the rather less known tools and apps, you can just not reach the same amount of people. But I think this is where, we shouldn't just demonize Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and all the Google services, because they also can give us a huge array of usage. And that is basically in reaching the masses. And that is like an unfortunate situation, but at the same time, I think it seems like you guys already have enough knowledge about technical things, so you can use a VPN and make sure that you don't get tracked too much. And I mean, saying this, when you use Facebook, for example, or, just contacting people through WhatsApp, because most of the people that contact me, they contact me through talking about, just like funny memes or something, but actual useful things that can, like what I do, for example, perpetuate the gift economy and propose that idea for more people, so therefore create more change. And I think we shouldn't, like, I'm definitely not a fan of it, don't get me wrong, but I think we should find a healthy balance between like good and bad in these cases.
I want to mention that people over the past 5-6 years ask me for my WhatsApp, for example, and I'm not a very social creature at all. I don't have many friends, but I always said I don't have WhatsApp, or I don't use Facebook, and contact me some other way. And for example, I told him about Signal, which is much better than WhatsApp. It's kind of respects your privacy, and it's a non-for-profit behind that. And I kind of converted quite a lot of people because of that. They couldn't reach me unless they install Signal, and then they see other people using Signal. So maybe, I completely get your point. We still use Facebook and YouTube as just for what they are, advertisement platforms, not social networks. That's mislabeled. It's advertisement. You post ads there, basically. But because I was so how to say, stubborn about this, I changed other people, and I think that's also it's a great value in that too. So even if you use them, no one stops you from revolting against that and saying, look, I have no other choice but using these tools. And I think one interesting example is this guy Richard Stallman, who kind of started this free and open source movement. And he's a fun character at times, weird in some aspects, but he was always like, this garbage of proprietary software. And I think his attitude influenced others. We need those people too, I think. So yeah, that's important too, And we have someone else here. I don't know if you want to participate, but if you want to say something or enable your camera or your video, you feel free whenever you want to join. Let's talk about. I want to stress a bit more why these things are bad before, just like 5-10 minutes before we go into the alternatives. Do you guys know any big example of like Amulet was saying, with this guy being charged in a wrong way because of his phone and Google tracking and so forth? Do you know big cases why this is a big fucking mess that we are seeing today with Facebooks and Googles? I will give you one example, and then if you guys know, for instance, with Amazon, because they have so much power in having an online store and tracking the data of all of the merchants there, they can see what is going to become popular, and they very quickly will create a product that will compete to whatever comes to be popular. And then they basically own the entire market of selling stuff because of the data tracking. They track data, they track you going on the website and seeing what you look at, what you may like, what you may not like. So they maximize this profit driven, this attitude of making people buy as much as possible. So because they are such a mammoth in this world, and because of the data tracking, they can control your that's what I wanted to say. They control your wishes in a way, because they know what you kind of want to buy. And they control their competitors. They don't have quite any competitors because they come up with new products. So you see how they use their data and tracking to keep themselves in power and become even bigger and bigger. And if you guys know some examples, maybe from the past with even Microsoft or whatever, I think maybe this is not that related, but I know that they kind of pushed their own Internet Explorer. They forced installations of Windows in their Internet Explorer. They pushed their own software because they wanted to grab as much maybe data and so forth. But if you know other big examples of these things, why so bad? No, Google's who promised to not put their search results first, and then they started to put their own. I saw this study recently that 64% of people who search on Google end up on Google websites. So keep that in mind. 64% of people. Maybe it was in US done, but still, that's a lot. It's Plus, they were fined. They were fined by the European Union for all kinds of security, not data collection, breaching agreements about that and so forth, violations.
Can I say something?
Yep.
Maybe I would say Cambridge Analytica. I think it's something very well known. It's also a documentary on video on it, hosted by Theo. And if we make a quick search, I think there are also some articles with a long list of similar situations, maybe not easy to remember if we don't focus very much, but if we think a little bit, we can name very easily at least a few other similar cases. Maybe there are older ones and maybe not so easy to remember for some of us, but the big concern is how the search results for me are being influenced by our user account, by our location, because it may not seem a big deal, but like on Facebook, I have to use this because most of my acquaintances, my friends, my students use it. And I have noticed the fact that when I search for something, or recently I have a personal example. Out of the blue, I said the name of the brand of a luxury car. Usually I don't talk about this, but it was said next to my mobile phone. But it was not on, I was not speaking with somebody. It was next to me, the phone. In the next few hours, when I made a search for documentaries and stuff, interesting stuff, it was one documentary about that specific brand of car. And I watch it, but I think it was not random.
Success.
You fed the algorithm, is what you just told me, Alexia.
So I can confirm it can influence our decisions without us knowing very well. When we search for something, it builds a profile. We like something, and if we search for something different, usually it's related to what we like. And maybe we don't want the results to be influenced by our previous searches or decisions, or maybe our previous point of views. Maybe we want a different point of view, but usually our results from other search engines are influenced by the algorithm. And I also noticed, I follow out of curiosity some other people on YouTube, and they insist to like their video, to click on the bell, to receive notifications, to add comments, because they have a better reach. They maybe have better profits out of this, but this behavior makes everybody be like a fake person.
You're talking about these bubbles that they are creating probably with everyone, and people are not aware that whatever they search, it's based on their past activity, and you are trapped into a bubble of they serve you whatever makes you click or stay there. So I think it's bad in the long term, because in the long run, because you don't get to know about other things more than your immediate interests. So they do that with Facebook, they do that with YouTube. I remember back like many years ago, YouTube recommendations were at least a bit more sane. Today is just like complete. I don't use much. I try to use it in videos, but the recommendations are just to keep you there, and not. They don't care if they're whatever relevant or not, just to keep you there. Let's go and talk about this alternative. So, Amulet, for example. My mother will say, or my sister, not because she knows about these things, but other friends of mine will say, well, what can I use if I don't use Google? Like, what can I use if I don't use Gmail or Facebook or YouTube? Are there good alternatives to these things?
The one downside I found to using all of these decentralized and open services is that they're not under one umbrella. They may not be easy to find, but there are definitely alternatives. For YouTube, there's PeerTube, Library, BitChute. For Gmail, there are so many different email providers, from Disroot, I run one. Mailbox.org, I think, is one. There are a lot.
So if I want to use, let's say, a search engine, we all know that Google, I think, accounts for 90+% of all searches in the world. What would you recommend for me?
For most people, DuckDuckGo would probably be the easiest. They do still do advertising, but it's not targeted. They don't collect your information and then serve you ads based on your previous searches. You say everyone gets the same results, everyone gets the same ads. But there's also a search engine called Searx or Searx or however you pronounce it, that aggregates results from different search engines. So when you search for a word or a sentence or whatever, that phrase is then sent to DuckDuckGo, to Bing, to Google, to whatever's configured, and then those results are returned and displayed to you. So you don't just get biased results from one, you get results from many.
That's a great one, because we also installed on our TROMland instance, on our TROMland server. And to explain a bit to people, Alexi, how would you explain an instance? Because sometimes I have a difficulty here explaining to people, what is this instance? How come we have a Cirx? Amulet has a Cirx, others have, like, what's up with those? Is the same? What is an instance?
Actually, we can make an analogy to explain this. We take the same open source software, like other people who are creating their own instances, and we are installing this open source software on our computer or on our server in this case, and we also customize it to our own liking and make it available to the public. So an instance could be defined like an implementation of a software which is customized and offered to everybody. But the difference, if we want to compare it with other similar implementations, is that somebody controls this instance according to some rules. Like we want to offer this TROMland implementation as trade free, so we don't want to collect data, and we offer all the functionalities included by the software developer. Some people may want to make some profit out of this software and insert some tracking applications to follow the visitors, to learn what they are looking for, their keywords, and so on. So our instance, as I try to define, is our own implementation of the same software according to our principles, and some other instances may be different and may be broken, because I noticed if we update some software, sometimes some modules are not working because this software is not created by us to better understand how it works, and each update may bring some regression, some things that are working not as expected. So
it's almost
technical explanation on one part, but an instance, it's a version of some tool, of some service available at a certain moment, but no guarantee, like in videos. If you remember the news, since the beginning of September, it will be not available. And maybe we should look for a possibility to create our own InVideos instance to watch YouTube videos as trade free.
Yeah, we will talk about InVideos because it's actually maybe it's not going away. Of course, we will have to talk about that. But I wanted to maybe another analogy will be, it's almost like a game. It's the same game. Imagine like a video game back in the days, those retro games, and I can install that game on my computer that is connected to the internet, and others can install the same exact game and install on their own computer and is connected to the internet. Now, you want to access my game, you go, or like, I don't know, TROMland.org. You access the same game. You play that game. You want to access it from Nixnet services, you go there and you play the same game. Yes, we can tweak the game. Maybe ours looks a bit different and so forth, but in general, it should be quite a similar game that you can access. Same with this instance, that's the beauty of it. Anyone can install that on their own servers, because servers are just basically computers. That's all they are, connected to the internet, and access to an IP address, or like you are used to through a domain, blah blah blah.com or whatever. Yeah, it's the fact that we can not only install these things but also tweak them. Let's create a great diversity, because we can put our own rules in place, like Alex was saying, and that's a really, really great advantage, because we can tweak that to fit our own needs. And what I really liked about this freaking open source idea is that they don't put as many rules, if any. You can sell if you want, you can sell these things, you can collect even data if you want, but since it's open source, people might notice that you are doing these things, so it's a lot more secure in that regards. People can point out, look, they are mining your data. Yes, and sometimes I've seen that some of these instances don't work, but because there are so many, like we have this custom Manjaro operating system called TROM that I also use on a daily basis, and I implemented circs in Firefox in TROMjaro, but because some instances don't work, I put like 10 or so. The cool thing about it is that you can switch between them and you won't even notice. Like, I think you also have, right, one of your on Nixnet that services, you have a circs instance. How is that? Is that taking a lot of your time to maintain this search engine? No.
Basically, set it up and run it and upgrade it when there are updates. And that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because we are kind of new to this, of course. Last night we were trying to figure out how to change the settings, try to figure it out. But it's also fun to figure these things out. And what other services? Let's say that, okay, we replace the search engine with circs, but that relies on Google, that relies on DuckDuckGo. If those were not to exist, we will have no search engine. So is there a way for us to search this vast arena, which is the internet, without the help of these big companies? Is there a way?
There's a tool called Yassi, and it indexes its own web pages. It basically crawls websites, looks for links, follows those links, and then sort of downloads those pages. So when you search, you are searching your own database of the internet, sort of. It's interesting. It takes a lot of resources to run them.
I think Alex, you implemented that on TROMland.
Yes.
It's in testing or something like that.
I tried to implement it, but there are some technical issues because we are using a server which is semi-managed. So the security certificates are generated automatically. The security updates are automated by the hosting cloud provider, and when I tried to install Yassi or some other complex tools which are run outside the regular HTML directory, because like circs, it's in a special folder located. There are issues with the ports and with HTTPS protocol, and it is not accessible. And I need to tweak some settings and to learn what's not working. Maybe they will release an update to make it easier, like they did for circs, because earlier when I tried it, it didn't work with secure protocol. It was only HTTP. But now, as you can check on TROMland, it works. Maybe we had some issues, but we solved earlier, yesterday and today. And it depends also on the server configuration. Some other platforms we are using may conflict their ports and their configuration with the one proposed by default by Yasi or some other platform. So this is, from my point of view, a big challenge to install as many tools as possible on the same server. We have also the possibility to register a different server for different tools to avoid some conflicts and to make them available in a bigger number. But
it's very possible. It's quite possible to run that because you run it a few times. We tested it a bit.
Yeah.
It's
but
quite possible.
Different configuration of the server was used, not the semi-managed one, which imposes some settings by default. Because it's an advantage to have a semi-management hosted, because some of the details are already taken care of by some other IT specialists, and I prefer this, like automated backups, because if something breaks, I can easily restore the whole server in a few minutes. And also, if we want to test something, we can use a different test server and we can start fresh very quickly.
How is it for you, Amulet? Do you manage everything for a server, or is semi-managed? Is everything you?
Yes, I run everything myself.
You went the Arch Linux way, kind of like Windows way. Go there. So for search, I would say Cirx and Yasi, but this Yasi, whatever you pronounce it, however you pronounce it, it's a bit more difficult to implement, yet is kind of the seems to be the right way probably to do search, because you don't rely. You rely on other peers, right? Every peer, everyone who has how is that working? Everyone who accesses Yasi and does a search contributes as a peer. Do you guys know?
If I remember correctly, it's the when someone makes a search, if the site has not been indexed before, the server they're using makes the index, downloads it, and then that server sends it to the other servers in the network. So when a user searches on this one over here, they get the same data as the original one.
Okay, so servers act as peers, right? They connect to each other. Yes. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
Well, it makes sense. So we are going to quote you because of that. No. So yeah, for search, let's take them one by one like this. First of all, for search, Cirx and Yasi are really two great alternatives. I've been using Cirx for a few weeks, maybe a few months now. I think a few months now, and it's quite great. Like I don't miss Google or DuckDuckGo. I used to use DuckDuckGo, but now because of this, there's no ads. I don't have to install an ad blocker just for the search, sake of searching something. And it's fantastic because it has these categories, right? For example, science. I use that a lot when we write books. I want to search for some scientific studies. It has a tab. You click that tab, and it searches through specific websites that are they post scientific articles. So you find directly scientific articles, which is fantastic. It even searches on the BitTorrent network through some other website, so you can find a file on the BitTorrent network. So it's fantastic. To me, it's like a lot better than Google. Even if Google will be completely free, like we call it trade free, you don't have to give anything to Google, I would be like, no thanks. This one is really great, and I don't even use the Google search engine as the back end of it. We use other kinds of search engines. There are a few like Mojik, I think it was called, that when I did a bit of research on alternative search engines, this seemed to be a non-for-profit from, as far as I remember, from UK. They do their own indexing. So it's not like there are not other alternatives except these ones. But this one seemed really good. And we recommend this is Cirx. And you see, because there is no competition between like TROMland and Nixnet services, you can use their instance or our instance. We don't care, actually use theirs if they have better servers, because then you are going to like smash our servers. No, you can use whatever instance you want. And that's the beauty of what I've seen in open source. I can send to your services, because I don't gain anything from people using my own. I don't sell anything, So that's really. Cody, did you ever use this Circs or Yassi?
When Cirques, when you prompted us with the thingy the update for TROM-Jaro there, and then learn about DuckDuckGo was still doing some funky stuff. So it was like none of that.
In terms of ads. But you use Circs, and I would say that you should try to use more and more Circs. You'll see it's as relevant as, I mean, if you use DuckDuckGo in the backend, it's going to be as good as DuckDuckGo.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, like, a search engine aggregate. That's pretty boss.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really great. So for search, we have alternatives. What about videos, guys? Where can I watch videos that somewhere where people don't collect my data? What are the alternatives there? Anyone? No alternative? We are fucked.
Self-host.
I was going to list a few, but I can list a few, but I was going to see if anyone else had something to say.
Actually, I know about PeerTube. I think some of the TROM materials are already uploaded there, and there are some other open source platforms I was trying to test, but from my point of view, the technical point of view, there are some issues related to the right configuration, because if you run some other services on the same server, there will be issues, because at the beginning there are not many peers, or is not a lot of traffic, but at a given moment there may be a peak, there are a big CPU load, and it may slow down the server.
So how YouTube works, for example, they have many, let's call them computers, or servers, whatever you want to call them, and people upload their videos there, and then someone wants to watch a video, they basically access those servers that are owned by Google, and the video is there, and it gets served to you. That's how you watch YouTube videos. What's the difference with this PeerTube? Do you guys know?
With PeerTube, it is decentralized or federated, two different words that describe basically the same thing. But with PeerTube, there are basically multiple instances. It's actually very similar to Yassi. You have different servers distributed around the world, run by different people with different rules, moderation policies, privacy policies, etc. But an individual with an account on one instance will upload their video there, and it's stored on that server. And then an individual over here on another server can make a search and access the video on this other instance. So the load is distributed, the videos are distributed, the accounts are distributed. It prevents one entity from having all of the power and all of the load in terms of like resource usage.
Well, that's great. That's what federation basically means, right? And find a video and watch it here, but it's streamed from there. Mm-hmm. That's how it is. Mm-hmm. And you also act as a peer when you watch. You upload. Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
As you're watching a video, if you are downloading it from the central server, if someone else is watching the same video and you've already downloaded a portion of it that they haven't yet, then they download it from you as well, in addition to the server of origin. I'm not sure if I'm describing that.
It's like the BitTorrent, how it works. Multiple peers, and you grab it from multiple peers.
Yes.
Right. You see, but that's brilliant because of many reasons. But one is that people have this idea that we need Google. It's like a necessary evil because they have so much money to build these big servers and so forth. But as you can see with these examples, we can build this kind of system with much smaller servers, but distributed all around the world. You don't have to have one entity holding the power, So I think that's a huge advantage, and the fact that you can search through all of them that's extraordinary. I've tried some PeerTube instances. Of course, they are limited in terms of how much you can upload there, because videos take a lot of space. But it's great that it doesn't put so much load on your server, because it's built with that in mind, distribute the resources. Yeah, if you guys want to say anything about PeerTube, if you know other kind of alternatives, because some may say PeerTube may be limited, may not be as many videos, and I'm trying to find that really great cat video that this cat plays piano, and I cannot find it on PeerTube, but I can find it on YouTube. What do you say to people who will say this, that is limited in terms of content? I don't have much content there, so I am forced to use YouTube. Mm-hmm.
Download it and upload it to PeerTube.
Do they have automated, I think, some scripts there like that?
There are some scripts that people use to, when someone on YouTube uploads a video, the script will download it and then upload it to PeerTube.
Nice.
Those work well enough, but I don't think it is the ultimate solution. I think the best way is for the creator to upload their own videos to PeerTube, so they have control over their own content, publication, that kind of thing.
Because it's the right way to do it. But there are other kind of searches for search engines. There are alternatives to YouTube, and this one is in videos, I think it's called, right? What's up with that one? What does that do? Because that doesn't have its own content.
Invidious is a sort of like a proxy for YouTube. It stands in between you and YouTube servers. You interact with YouTube through Invidious. That's basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what does it do? Basically, it blocks all kinds of scripts, so you don't get tracked or you don't get ads, right?
The main YouTube website has all of the trackers and not third parties, but all of the trackers embedded within it. Mm-hmm. But Invidious only streams the video. It doesn't have any of the other elements.
Yeah, it almost grabs the pure video right from the server in a way and delivers to you. I've been using Invidious for a while now. I think it was really great. It's so clean to see YouTube that clean, because even with ad blockers and so forth, YouTube still finds ways to push some, I don't know, with those small buttons and those recommended videos, and you click by mistake, all kinds of fucking things. So it's great, but what I realize is that sometimes these instances really struggle to deliver. And what's up with this latest news about InVideo.us? And the guy, do you know this? Probably you're up to date with the guy who was behind in the videos, giving up basically and not managing it anymore. Do you know? What do you guys know about this?
Does anyone else want to say something?
Maybe you know more because you are a lot more familiar with this world.
I can. So Omar Roth is the developer, and he basically got burned out. Invidious is a huge project that thousands of people use and love because it's so useful. But he didn't have time or energy, and it became a burden on him to continue developing the software. So he decided, I'm going to take a break, focus on me for a bit. And I guess like a mental health kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Development has not stopped. It's been moved to a GitHub organization, and there are other maintainers now.
Mm-hmm. I think I've seen something because I've been reading to the GitHub issue about this problem. Is somehow the guy behind Snopita, whatever he's maintaining, is one of the maintainers? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think so. I haven't read
Yeah.
the, but that's what it seems like.
Because I mean, I've been exchanging some emails with him. Seems like a really nice guy. He was the first one that I invited to TROM-Cast, and then actually he told me about you, to invite you because you know all about the things that he knows, but you speak English much better than him. So it's fantastic to see that they help now with the project, and probably will stay alive. I don't think he's going to die having so many people using it. I don't think so.
It's open source. That's
Yeah.
the nature of open source. Even if the original creator disappears off the face of the earth, the software is still there. Other people can pick it up and continue with his vision.
Yeah, that's the awesome part about open source, because it matters. The project itself matters. Whoever maintains it, people come and people go. Unfortunately, that's life. You'll get hit by a bus one day or whatever, but the project is still there. People continue. So you see, Alexio, in videos is not going anywhere. We can try to install an instance on our end. Do you think that it takes a lot of resources to install?
Actually, I'm looking now about PeerTube. It seems we need to learn to master Docker to make it work. I would like to mention every piece of software we have now on TROMland. It's not based on Docker. It's only using an Apache server and PHP. And sometimes for the apps in testing, I used MySQL database. But I think it may be a good solution in the future to use Docker containers for various apps because they are isolated. Maybe some resources will be used in a different way, but we have a server powerful enough, I think, for quite a few more apps.
I wanted to mention that Alexio not only that deals with this and from technical perspective, but he even pays from his own pocket for the servers. And we will try at home to pay for it from donations. We get some donations, but it's barely enough, to keep all of our projects alive. But that's our goal to pay. So thank you so much for being such a good human being. And I know I've been reading through these other websites like Nix, Net Services, and that services and so forth. People there saying I pay from my own pockets, if you want to help or not. But I think that's what you do as well, right, Emily? You pay for these things. You get some support, some donations?
No,
I think I get...
But I think you want to explain from your perspective.
Do what?
I think you wanted to say something from your perspective.
Wait, Tia, were you talking to me?
Yeah, I was asking if
Okay.
if I was asking Amolit if he gets some support right now, and yeah.
Yes, I do. I think in terms of donations, I get about half of my operating costs, which is nice.
How much do you pay to maintain all of these services?
It's been a bit since I did the math, but I think it's around $50 or $60 a month for servers right now, and then domains are $200 a year, something like that.
Well, and you see, this guy is doing them without just for you to use them. It doesn't post ads or it doesn't track you or anything. That's fantastic. Yes, Cody, there are such people.
No way.
And how much, Alexei? How much do you pay for TROMland if you are still there? Maybe you're not there. Okay, I think we pay around 25 euros, something like that. But before we go into other services, let's go on the same path of search. I think search, you have some alternatives. I think videos, we have some alternatives like PeerTube and in videos. What about Facebook, for example? Most people use Facebook or general social networks, but that's the biggest one. Are there alternatives to Facebook?
Definitely. There are a lot of social networks you can use. The main ones use something called ActivityPub. Are you familiar with that at all?
I've heard, yeah. It's similar to Feediverse, though. Is it working the same kind of way?
Yes.
You can. Okay, so for those who don't know, what does that mean?
ActivityPub is a specification that lays out how servers can communicate with each other. PeerTube uses ActivityPub. That's how the videos are sent from one server to another. But the same specification can be used for social networking. So there is Mastodon is probably the biggest one. I think the URL for that is joinmastodon.org, maybe. But it's a Twitter clone. There's also Friendica, which I think that also uses ActivityPub. It might be different though. I don't remember. Diaspora, Chloroma,
and I think Mastodon, for example, as far as I know, it works kind of the same with PeerTube in the sense that like, I can. There are instances on all kinds of servers. So you make an account there. It's almost like thinking in terms of Twitter. It's like Twitter1.com, Twitter2.com, whatever. Many Twitters, whatever. And you register on one website, but you can follow people from another instance. And you can get their posts in your own feed, similar to PeerTube in that regards, right?
All of the ones I just mentioned are interoperable. So I can have an account on a MISKey server in Germany and interact with someone on Mastodon in the US. And they all interoperate.
Also, it's not only just Mastodon working with Mastodon. There are they work with others like Diaspora or others. I didn't know.
Diaspora uses I think it uses the Diaspora protocol. So it is off in its own area, but everything that uses ActivityPub can interact with each other. So I can follow a PeerTube account from my Mastodon account.
Okay, I've read about this, but I didn't know. Okay, that's fantastic because it means that it connects all of this together. Okay, so hold on. Is someone behind all of this that thought about this master plan, or it just evolved like that?
Whoever came up with the ActivityPub specification. It's a group of people. Yeah.
It's almost like it's a protocol almost like RSS in a sense. That doesn't matter what websites you can subscribe to their RSS in a way. Or you can pull content in all kinds of. Okay, that's
as
fantastic.
long as something implements ActivityPub, you can interact with it from anything else that also implements ActivityPub.
It doesn't matter if it's a social network or a video platform or. Oh, okay.
Some people use their own websites as their social media platform, so they can have as their blog. Like they've got a personal website, they have a blog on it. You can follow that person's blog from Mastodon and comment on their posts from Mastodon. And they can comment on other people's posts from their personal website.
That's fantastic. In a sense, it's actually like email, right? Because email works like that. I can have whatever account on my own personal website, my own email. And I can email you, you can communicate with each other. But a lot more sophisticated it seems because you can follow, you can comment, you can post videos and photos. Okay, that's fantastic. I really want to focus more on this because we have for a while now an account, a Mastodon account too for our project. For TROM, I was following. I tried. I think your instance of Mastodon. I couldn't reach it. Sometimes maybe services are down. Whatever. Maybe it was something with my internet connection. But I follow some like that. It doesn't have to be on the same website, on the same server. You can follow others, which is fantastic. Yeah, that's extraordinary. But yeah, and because some people will say, who controls the content here? Do they have moderation? Like, can they ban me from posting? It depends on the instance, right?
It depends entirely on the instance, the server, the people behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe one instance cannot allow you to post, I don't know, nudity, but others will allow you. And you can also pack your bags and create it somewhere else. Oh, okay.
There are different implementations of, being able to migrate from one server to another. Mastodon has that implemented, so you can have an account on, social.nixnet.services, and then migrate to mastodon.social, and you take all of your followers, your follows with you.
Isn't that great, Cody?
Like that.
Isn't that awesome?
I don't like
That's
that.
really interesting. Because like now you can go on his website on Nixnet services. I think it's Nixnet services, Nixnet.services or service, and you can create an account, a Mastodon there, right? And then you can follow whoever, wherever, these kinds of instances. And do you probably also have a limitation in terms of storage space with users?
I don't have one set. You can.
So go there and upload
Oh,
all of your
that's what
photos.
all right. Free storage space.
Well, then I'll have to upgrade servers.
Not my problem.
And then start to charge people for that, huh? No. You don't have any such plans, huh?
Do what?
To start charging for services. No. That's great. That's beautiful. Okay, my chair is. I have a problem. My chair is like from time to time. Just
That happens to me every day.
Yeah?
It is so annoying.
It never happened to me live before, but now it's like first time like live. So we have the same problem. That's good. You're not the only one. The other disadvantage people may see, again with social networks, is the content. It's like my friends are not there. I don't find them. That's why people don't migrate, they will say, to such services. How do you think there is any way that you know of to kind of overcome this handicap? Because that's what I see all the time. People like, I'm not going to Mastodon because to follow who? To talk to who? My friends are on Twitter, on Facebook.
There isn't really a solution for getting your friends on Mastodon when they want to follow their friends, and that's all. But I have found success in saying there's new people. You'll meet new friends, and there are a lot of cool people there that you'll never meet if you don't try.
Isn't there an alternative? I think there are some alternatives like Netter, or that.
Yeah.
Can those two communicate in a way, like kind of force people to, like, even if they use Twitter, they use this Netter kind of thing, and their content gets uploaded to Mastodon maybe, or isn't a solution like this could be easier, make people migrate?
That depends on your goals. Not really sure how best to describe it. So Netter is to Twitter what Invidious is to YouTube. It's a front end. You can view tweets, but you can't interact with them. And you could, using RSS, you could cross-post someone's Twitter content to Mastodon, but the person who created the post wouldn't be able to interact with Mastodon if they don't have an account there.
Yeah, so there are also alternatives like this, like in videos for that, like how in videos it's to YouTube, is this Netter to Twitter. Right.
If you want to follow people and not interact with them, yeah, that's perfectly doable. There's Netter for Twitter, like I mentioned, Invidious for YouTube. There's also Bibliogram. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the same thing, but for Instagram.
Yeah, I couldn't get that to work most of the time with any kind of instance. Seems difficult to make that work. Or yeah,
I don't remember the technical limitations, but I don't remember what technical limitations there are. but you
Instagram fighting back, huh?
Yes, very much so. But you basically have to download the person's page yourself and then upload it to the Bibliogram instance. It's
That's how the
weird.
script works.
Yes.
Because all of the
It's
scripts, all of the scripts are basically not even telling those YouTubes or whatever that they do anything. They just almost like visualize the content there and extract it and put it in a better in this other format, right? Don't use their APIs or anything like that, because that's limiting. They will limit you.
Sure.
So it's as far as you know, it's a lot of fight there with this. They change a lot, and you have to fight all the time to like make them work.
YouTube is terrible about it.
It's
They change. They can make the smallest UI change, and it completely breaks every other service that interacts with YouTube. Like NVIDIA's, they constantly have to push new updates as YouTube changes, and the same thing for YouTube DL or NewPipe, etc.
Yeah, I'm sure. Maybe they even do that intentionally. Who knows? If they know that there are people taking advantage of.
I don't doubt it.
Alexia, you are still there. I wanted to bring you back into discussion, but okay, if you're not there, you're there.
I was taking a little break.
Okay.
It was a long day, but I am listening to you. Very useful examples about the tools I already tested for TROM wiki. Actually, we have links for an Invidios instance and for Niter to showcase content related to TROM. But I think it's better to use a tool which is complete, not to scrap the content from other sources and try to encourage the
Beautify
users to it's better to try to encourage the user to use a better platform, in my opinion. It's difficult if you tell someone, look, it's a better alternative to Twitter or to Facebook, and they say, but we are already there, so why bother to change the platform?
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, maybe we can showcase something interesting from TROMland. We have the RSS bridge.
I was about to tell you to showcase something from TROMland and also from Nixnet, that services. But first, let's start with TROMland. What do you want to showcase?
Maybe we can start with the search engine, the first one. I mentioned RSS bridge, but it's interesting to make a few searches, because we talked earlier about the search results which are influenced by our location, by our user accounts, and I think this can be customized using our CRX instance.
Could you search for trade free there? Let's see.
Searching for trade free.
Let's see. If it's not the first result, it's not a good search engine.
Oh, well. Okay, I got a tradefree.org going on here.
That's good search engine.
It's the top search result here.
Avem mai multă.
See, it works well. We didn't tweak that to, of course.
You didn't pay them? You didn't pay them to get the first result?
Well, don't say that, Cody. Yeah, we also made it black. Black and cool.
Paint it black, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Anything else you want to showcase, Alexia?
Maybe we can choose a different categories on CRX to show, for example, the videos, because there are interesting results there. I made some tests today after you changed some of the options, so it works better. And I noticed some of the results, however, are from sources which are not very relevant, because there are still some tweaks to be made regarding the quality of the results, because some results may be not appropriate for some viewers, and we can tweak that to filter some results. That's why I said it depends on the principles of each instance, because maybe we want to showcase the information as is from every source, or we want to showcase only high quality information and not offensive information. It depends. We need to tweak it to showcase only the information we think is relevant, or give the total freedom to show anything, no matter what.
And that's quite open, because people can see what settings we implemented there. They can click the preferences in search, and they can see that of it now. Take it easy.
So we may check the next one, RSS Bridge, because it's the first tool I ever implemented, and I was very impressed about.
That was the bait for me, because they're like, so we curate news and videos from YouTube or other sources, and I used the YouTube APIs, and they were like fucking me over so much, because it's like limits, and then Alexi was like, well, use this RSS bridge. RSS bridge basically creates an RSS, right, for all kinds of such services. You don't need their APIs, right?
Yes. Actually, some of the tools, some of the modules of RSS Bridge are using some APIs, but they are making some tweaks, so we don't see the commercial content. So there are no ads in principle. Sometimes there are, like the Instagram bridge, sometimes it breaks, and some stuff is not shown in your page with cartoons from TROM.
Let's do it this way. You showcase one, and Amolit showcases one from his services. Let's see, what do you guys have there. So you showcase now the RSS bridge, right?
I'm on the RSS.
From TROMland.
Yeah.
RSS bridge, which is really useful. We use this like every day for our TROM created news and videos and illustration and so forth. So that's fantastic. What about you, Amolet? You have something better than this?
No, RSS Bridge is really cool. I use
you also have that.
Myself.
You also have that on your service. Yeah. And you have, what else do you have there that is really useful and you really like it and it's important?
One I find myself using a lot is both Big Blue Button and Mumble. And Big Blue Button is very similar to Jitsi. It's basically a self-hosted video conferencing platform. But I personally feel like it's a bit more mature than Jitsi and works a bit better. And Mumble is voice chat. And I use both of them very frequently.
Yeah, I've heard about the Big Blue Button. It's what is more interesting about it is that you can also have presentations, right? Not just talk to people. You have spreadsheets, presentations you can share. Yeah, it's more geared for teachers, I think, or teacher students.
The primary use is definitely education, but I'm also part of a development group that uses Big Blue Button bi-weekly, and we use a lot of the features like, screen sharing, chat, polls, having presentations there, etc.
That's great. Do you have the Nixnet services up and showcasing stuff?
Yep.
Nixnet services, and then So Alexio, what else do we have there?
So for TROMland, if we keep your order, because it was you who finally.
But you whatever you present what you think is more interesting there. We don't have to present everything.
It's a good presentation, beta torrent or BitTorrent. It's an interesting tool. I tested with TROM-Jar or some other videos, but it mostly depends on how many peers are available, because if there are no peers at a given moment, every torrent client has this issue. We cannot download at that moment.
So that's basically a client for a BitTorrent client in the browser. You don't have to install anything. You can download and upload. That's really cool.
It has an interesting feature, stream view. If you choose a video with enough peers, that's why I said you need peers, you can watch it directly in your browser, that video from torrents. And I tried to test with some videos. It worked in a few cases, but it depends also on the server, our server, and the peers. So, and also on the browser you are using, because if you have some add-ons and some other tabs open, it may take a long time. It consumes some resources, this app, not only on the server, but also on the local computer, if you are using beta torrent to share or view some videos. It's an interesting tool to download files online without installing on your computer, because it's on the server saved, and then you can.
Yeah, you can even share files. Like you can upload, like send files through that to bit. How is it called?
Maybe the next one is interesting for most people, because you can quickly share some piece of code, some text.
You mean the private bin?
Private bin, yes. You can also choose Markdown, so you can format some text using this approach and share it also using a password, so not anyone is able to read it if it's something not very public.
It's a public document, right? You create a document and you can share with others.
It's an interesting feature there for private bin. You can have an open discussion regarding the text you pasted, so like a forum thread, so a short discussion. And you can set the expiration time for your paste. It's also very useful.
Yeah, these are very useful tools for kind of everyone, right? Not just geared towards specific. Like people may use that to just share a note that is private, and you don't have to send a file; just send a URL.
And
right?
It's encrypted, so we don't have access to that content.
Yeah, server side. Yeah.
Yes. So
and we'll.
Safe.
Yeah. So let's also leave. I'm going to say some other services from his side, and then we can go back to TROMland. If you have some other interesting ones there, Amulet.
Another one I find gets a lot of use is CodyMD. It's actually being rebranded soon, though, so it won't be CodyMD for long. But it's a markdown, collaborative document editing, basically, like Google Docs, but Markdown. And my instance has 49 users, which isn't that many, but 16,000 documents.
What?
Because people can use it without logging in. You can create notes and collaborate anonymously. And a lot of people like that feature.
Oh, that's great. But what if someone would say to you now, also you are tracking people because you know how many users there are and how many documents they created?
Well, that's just built into CodyMD itself, and anyone can see that same information by appending /status to any CodyMD instance.
It's in the open.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, we don't have that, but I think maybe it's in testing or something. And it's I don't even know how to explain, but you can format the text. It's easier to format the text, make it bold, put like a piece of code and so forth directly from the keyboard. You don't have to like click buttons. It's maybe more hacker oriented, kind of quickly.
There's also a tool called Etherpath or Etherpad. I don't know which one. That is basically the same, but no markdown. It looks the same as any other word process. You've got buttons for bold, italics, headers, that kind of thing. More
They perform the
user-friendly.
same functions, yeah. Same functions, but more user friendly. Yeah, that's great. We also have this one called I don't know how to call it. I think it's in French, Giraffe, something like this. You see it, Cody? Giraffe. Giraffe, because you're from Canada and you should know this kind of words.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what's this, Alexio? Giraffe?
This Giraffe tool is used to quickly share an uploaded file with anyone who knows the link generated after the successful upload. So you can showcase very quickly with a small file, because we need to just click on it, on the folder sign, to upload something, and after this obvious operation, you will receive a confirmation the upload was successful, and you can copy a link and share it with your friends, with anyone who may be interested to download that specific file. Also, it's interesting with this platform Giraffe that you can set an expiration time, and also you can limit to only one download, and after this it's erased from the server.
One-time download, basically.
Yes, you want to share with only one person.
That's really cool, because there is also this service that many people use called WeTransfer, but it's full of ads and trackers and so forth. So this is kind of like that, but without any. You don't have to trade anything. Basically, we don't collect your data or whatever. You just upload the file quickly and send to people. I realize that this is quite a useful little app or whatever service for many people who want to quickly send a file to someone. So it's great that we have this. And before we continue, Chris, I see a new face here, Chris. So where do you come from, Chris? How did you come about this TROM-Cast?
Hi. Yeah,
your mic is very, very, very. The volume is so high.
Sounds boosted. Yeah.
It's a bit boosted. Can you turn it just a bit down?
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on.
There is.
I think it's good now.
No, yeah, that's rock solid.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
So yeah, I'm a NixNet user among other things, and so I was watching because of that. Nice. And based on some of the conversation that you've been having on here, I thought that you might be interested in a technology called the Interplanetary file system. I don't know if...
Akodi is a big fan of that, huh?
Okay.
So for those who don't know, what is that all about?
The Interplanetary file system is a different technique for acquiring data over the internet that works like BitTorrent, but doesn't require a centralized person to host the piece of data that you're acquiring. So for instance, if you wanted to visit NixNet over IPFS, if it was available on IPFS, and I was already looking at NixNet on my machine, I already had all of the files that comprise that website, you could download some of it from me. You know, the same principle that PeerTube uses, but applied to everything. Every file, every resource. It's a great way of distributing the bandwidth and storage costs of data. And there's a number of interesting technologies that are building on top of it that allow you to do really cool things to distribute the load of data storage and transfer for things like streaming video, though I don't think PeerTube is like using that particular technology. There's a chat system called Urbit that is entirely implemented within IPFS and many other things. It's cool, and it seemed relevant to your sphere of interest. So I thought I would
absolutely.
make sure.
We tried IPFS 2 years ago, Cody, I think, when it was quite 2 weeks or so. We really tried it for we contacted the developers. We had like a chat with them. We were testing some stuff because we wanted to put all of our files, everything that we do, books and videos, on the IPFS. We kind of managed to do that in a way, but back then the connections were not that great between what you may call as nodes. I think that you need some gateways, right, to access them to a browser, for example. And the gateway acts, it's like a website that gives you access, right, to these files. You have to, or you use a client, an IPFS client to connect directly.
A gateway is one way. A gateway is, an adapter for conventional HTTP-based protocols. You can also use browsers that already have IPFS support, which I suppose qualifies as an IPFS client. And there are browser extensions for Chrome and Firefox that run IPFS within your browser or talk to an IPFS node that's running on your system. So it's not a seamless experience right now, for sure, but gateway is not the only way to solve it.
This is similar to, if you guys also know what's called that network, it's hyperspace. We use that. I test that a lot because we want to share our files in a distributed way. So we don't put it on a server. Maybe I have the files, and then Cody will act as a peer, and other people who visit this unique URL or have access to me also have access to Cody's files and so forth. It's also great because you can create basically websites. You can create them offline, like locally on your computer, and then that website will be available through others, and whoever visits the website can act as a peer. And it's automatic. It's like, then even if I'm offline, the website is on Cody's computer and people can access that. So I think it's an extraordinary technology. I love that. I keep an eye on Beaker's development. Beaker is a way to access this hyperspace network. I keep a close eye on that. Yes, it's fantastic. I love that because it kind of pushes away this idea of servers, right? Everybody can become a server, be it for apps or websites or file hosting. Do you think that's how it's going to, this is the direction that these networks are going towards?
I think that's a promising direction, but it has its own problems, and they're not all very well addressed. For instance, all of the services that have everyone act as peers have huge privacy implications because they often reveal your IP address directly to all of your peers. So like you can mitigate that by going through a VPN, but that makes it potentially a harder thing for a non-technical computer user for whom a VPN is harder to understand. I think that's one of the biggest challenges is how do you protect the privacy of your users without forcing them to go through Tor or a VPN in order to connect to each other and leverage each other's kind of shared resources in a peer-to-peer context.
Yeah, these are really two. And I think another one was, so is the IPFS, is the hyperspace, was also this ZeroNet. Do you know about ZeroNet? It's another peer-to-peer network. It's also an interesting one if you look at it. ZeroNet. That's the three that the three that I found when I was doing some research about this to see how we can share our files. because we are paying lots of money to share our files with, like to put in on a server. We have 170 gigabytes of files. So it costs quite a lot of money to put them on one server. We ended up using Syncting. If you guys are familiar with Syncting, it's a really cool app that can directly share the files, to nodes, and we use that for now. Yeah, we also actually implemented the DAT network or hyperspace into our Linux distribution TROM. We implemented that into Firefox. So whoever has a website that is on the hyperspace network and puts that URL into Firefox directly, it converts it, and you can access through Firefox. You can access the DAT network, which is a little cool thing that we did for the browser. Yes.
Another interesting one is called Urbits. I don't know if you've seen that project.
No.
They've got a lot going on. They're rebuilding an operating system from the ground up, but their goal is to give you a personal computer that you can host somewhere in the cloud to act as the governor of your personal data. They've made a ton of fascinating technical decisions that you should definitely read about. But among other things, the Urbit network is peer-to-peer, and because it is hosted usually away from your endpoint device, you wouldn't run your Urbit on your phone. You would run it on a server and connect to it. It has some advantages of not revealing your actual personal device IPs and things like that. It's a cool technology.
Yeah, I had this dream about a distributed operating system, almost like having the core of Linux, maybe the kernel, and then you only have your data on your device, but you can stream it. I almost like you stream video games. Some people implemented that at one point. You just stream the video game, and maybe the settings are just stored on your device, because else you have to install the operating system, the kernel on all of the devices. But it just showcases that we could probably push things into that direction, and there are many examples that it could work for file sharing, for websites. It's still in beta, kind of. All of these are still kind of in beta, but from our tests, it's very interesting what is happening there. And because I don't want to keep AMOLID for so long, because you said that our TROM-Casts are so long and you have stuff to
it's
do.
all right.
You can tell us more about Nixnet, that services, and if you want to say more, or I just don't want to keep you too long. If I like the discussion, so I'm enjoying it. Alexio, if you also wanted to say anything about the other services that we have there, like say Encryptic is one that I really liked. Is an encrypted notes. It's a service for encrypted notes, so you can download your encryption key, and you always have access to your notes from our TROMland. We don't know what you have there, but only you, because you have the encryption key. It's a really nice one. Framadate is also what is on Nixnet. Actually, we contacted these guys from Framasoft. These guys from Framasoft, they do a lot of great stuff. Like they are behind PeerTube, right? And many others, like Framadate is one of them. We contacted them because we want to make a documentary. Dima was also part of TROM-Cast for a while. He wanted to make a documentary about activism and this, but they say, they're like, well, we are so busy with doing stuff, we are not that great on cameras. And from my experience too, if I contact people who are behind these projects, they just want to do some stuff, don't want to talk that much about the stuff they're doing. But we kept an eye on Framasoft for a few years now, and they do fantastic work. And Framadate, it's one of their many tools. And what is that, Alexio? Because you install these things, What is Framadate?
Actually, it's kind of a two-sided service, because you have two options. One is to make a poll to ask about what's the right time and date for a meeting. It's the first option. And the second one is to make your custom poll, to ask something and gather the results.
We use that
So,
for our TROM-Cast, right?
yes.
Because
It was quite
it's easy. Yeah.
useful.
Yeah, because it's just a little useful tool that you see most people use these kinds of tools, but they are full of ads and all kinds of websites. I'm sure there are all kinds of such services out there, but these are more like pure, like that's what it is for. No bullshit. That's what it is for. You want to make a poll, you do it. That's all. No registrations. Only like you put your username and a password to like create a unique URL and so forth. But that's kind of what it is. Yeah. And we have a lot. That's just the tip of the iceberg because we want to install. I told Alexio, like, don't just try to. He started to install so many, but let's think a bit practical because I'm afraid that there will be so many that you cannot manage at one point. And you, Amolit, you have experience with this. Does it take a lot of your work, or is just install and then update from time to time?
Actually, I tried to make a bigger catalog and test similar apps to have an alternative for the situation very possible in the future when some app is no longer developed and maybe there is a better alternative already and we can quickly switch to a different one from the same category of functionality. And usually it's interesting to test some apps which are implemented in a similar way to see which feature is missing from one app and it's available in another app. From the technical point of view, because I think that's the apps that require a lot of customization, like Sirix, because this is an exception from our present catalog. And the other ones are very simple to install. Just copy the files on the HTML folder and only maybe change the permission rights and change some config file and it should work. And in the case of the first tool I tested, it was what make me choose this approach, the RSS bridge. Just copy the files on your server and it should work. No further configuration is required. So
that's
very simple. You just need web server setup, however, to show the files. And there are some other tools like flat file based tools that can be used, like DocWiki. I'm testing for the TROM wiki, and you know very well there is TiddlyWiki. We already use this for TROM translations since last year, and there are some forks, we can say, from TiddlyWiki. We can maybe in the future showcase in our TROMland.
Also use TiddlyWiki for we built a website in TiddlyWiki. It's another very interesting tool.
It may be customized to be like a personal notebook, a portable one.
Cody, I didn't want to interrupt, but Cody, I'm told that there's a lot of background noise.
I see it. I don't know what they're picking up on. I can maybe hear like a minor fan or something, but I can hear him clearly over top of it, so I'm not sure. He has like maybe like he has maybe like a boomy, like a more bass to it. Maybe like the speaker setup or whatever they're dealing with on the other end, but like he's coming through clear. You guys can hear him clear, okay?
Yeah, I'm told by someone who's watching the stream.
Yeah, so my stream health's rock solid right now. So I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an ear out here. But yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, that's great. Because I was asking Amolit if he's because he has experience with the these kinds of services for the past 2 years, I think you said. Is it difficult to all of them, to maintain all of them?
It can be at times. Just depends on how many updates there are at once. And of course, the more customizations you've made to a piece of software, the more time it takes to apply that update. Because then you have to make those same customizations after downloading the new version. But in general, with the number I host, it's all right.
Mm-hmm. So it's nothing that scary for us.
No.
Yeah, I wanted to mention also, I'll give you some links, Cody, if you want to open them. Other projects, similar projects. So that website was Libre. How is that? Libre Host. I will give you here because I don't know how to pronounce it. LibreHo.st.
LibreHo.
And another one that I'm familiar with is this Snowpaita or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. And you should go there just to showcase, Cody, that they also have all kinds of such apps, like also Jitsi Meet, for example. Do you also have it, Amulet?
I do not.
You do not.
I just host Big Blue Button.
Because, for example, now we use Jitsi Meet, but it's from their official instance. Though there are many other instances, and I will be curious to try others when we have TROM-Cast, just to see how they work. Did you try did you guys try other instances if you are familiar with this or not? It's difficult to have them work, because I'm a bit concerned to try others for TROM-Cast.
In my experience, most of them work fine.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect. Because this one too is yeah, sure.
No, go ahead.
I want to say this one too is an alternative to Zoom or to Skype. Is peer-to-peer, but I don't quite understand how it works. That's what they say. Like, is peer-to-peer? What do they mean by that?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. But well, it works if you install your own instance. It goes to a server, but probably you also make upload or at the same time that you make download when you talk to people. But well, in any case, because I see in my stats here that I'm doing download and upload at the same time.
Yeah.
But of course, it's my video doing upload and download from you guys. I'm not sure if it connects some other way. But that's a great alternative, actually. Maybe the first one that I've used. And people are like, what the fuck is this Jitsi Meet, But then I realized, it works. All of our TROM-Casts are with Jitsi Meet. It works so great. And you don't need an account. I share the link, and people can join. I think one of the things that works to make people use these tools, less friction. I saw this TED talk, very interesting. This guy explaining about friction. Less friction between you and something else, like say a piece of software. It's easier for people to use it. Like here, you don't need an account. You want to call someone, just put there some words like jitsi.meet/whatever, and you just share the link, and you have a call. And I love this kind of tools. So that's why I really recommend Jitsi. It's really, really great. There's Snowpaita. They have one such instance. They also have Circs. It's one of the first Circs instances that I used. I really liked. So they're the same kind of website. You see, these websites are almost like clones of each other, because they provide similar services, right? So yeah, we also made a clone just to provide.
Perflist and I, well, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but he and I collaborate on some other things as well. Librespeed.org. Let me put that in the chat.
Librespeed. Speed.
Oh, yes,
right.
please. Oh, my goodness. It's glorious.
You made this one?
We didn't make it. That's just open source software, we're hosting. But It's a group of us from the Libre hosters, in addition to some other people, are running the back-end servers for it.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Like it's a
I think we
bookmark.
have. Yeah, that's great. So this one tests directly the internet speed. Basically, that's what it does, and it chooses servers that are closer to you,
Geographically.
geographically to you. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we also have one of these. It's the same one that we have, Alex.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
the same one, but we have a little bit different implementation. We have, if we can open it on TROMland.
It's called speed test.
Yeah.
Yes. We have some different pages with different interfaces for this test.
The progress bar and stuff like that.
And it's one different, very interesting, with a graph, a graphical representation. So you don't get only one value at the end. You have the evolution of the
Testing.
test.
Yeah.
Da. Yes. And it's interesting. You can test it only using our server,
Okay.
not with all these choices from librespeed.org. But we may try to find a solution to add more servers ourselves.
Okay, that's nice.
Beautiful.
That's very nice. Do you guys know an alternative to Google Docs? Because people use Google Docs like a full suite of Office, like Office suite. Is there an alternative to that you know of? It was one. Yeah, sure.
Nixnet hosts an instance of the soon-to-be renamed CodiMD, which can do Google Docs-esque things for Markdown. There's also things like Nextcloud, as mentioned in the chat, and I don't know. I believe that embeds LibreOffice in the browser, but maybe
Only Office, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we have that implemented in our Nextcloud installation. Yeah, that's one. Was another one CryptPad, I think, or something like that. That was closer to
Etherpad might also be in this space. I believe that's a collaborative document editor that I heard recently added spreadsheets, but I don't know how capable that is. I haven't used it.
I just put some links in the TROM-Cloud chat to these.
LibreOffice.
Oh, yeah.
CryptPad. Yeah, I think this one, CryptPad, I know about it. It seems quite similar. The fact that you can use different kinds of writing from spreadsheets to simple documents. So this one, maybe we could implement this one for our TROMland if it's not that difficult. Because we kind of use, we write big books sometimes, and someone has to proofread them, and then it's great to check all of the proofreading. Like on Google Docs, you see exactly what changes were done. You can revert some and so forth. So I'm looking for that kind of thing. I'm still testing, but yeah, this only Office seems to be the most robust, like version of LibreOffice. It's kind of the same, right? That seems to be the most robust, but of course you need the Nextcloud server, Nextcloud installation. We even have that for TROMland Nextcloud installation. We make it public and give people some, like, I don't know. It's difficult with Nextcloud because what you need storage space. How much can you give to people? Like 1 gigabyte, and then how many people can for how many people can that be? 100 people maybe. So, but it's great. The Nextcloud also is fantastic. We use Nextcloud for our all of our collaborations within the TROM team. We collaborate on stuff. We have the chats. We have the files there, and so forth. So that's, I think, a fantastic alternative. And this covers actually most of what people do online, because they do searches. If you use Circs or EASI, I think they are, at least Circs right now seems quite mature from my testing. Like, it works. It just works. Sometimes it's fires blank, bullets no, like, it just doesn't work sometimes, but depends on the instance. So for search, that's what people do. They search online for stuff. Go and do it with Circs. People watch videos. Well, go in PeerTube. There are so many instances. You'll find there are lots of videos, or use InVideo's instances. What does people do? They socialize. They post stuff. Do it with Mastodon on Jasper or others that they can communicate with each other. It's already there. Or document editing with these alternatives that we showcase here. Now, what else can people do online? Maybe they chat with others, but there are so many alternatives to chatting with each other, from Signal to, we use this QTalks in TROM-Jaro operating system. It's just such a great one. It seems quite fully decentralized because everyone acts as a node. So you can communicate with others, unlimited video, voice, chat, and so forth. Actually, TROM-Jaro, if anyone is interested, that was the idea behind it. It's TROMJaro.com. I took Manjaro, and I tweak it, to only leave the packages that we are interested in and so forth. And I pre-installed all kinds of applications so people can have this completely free, what we call a straight free access to chats, to file sharing, to browsing the internet and so forth. So we take all of these ideas that you guys promote and you guys implement, and you try to add it to the operating system, so it comes pre-packed with all of these things.
On the subject of chat, this isn't quite the same thing, but Amalith mentioned that the two of us he mentioned he's part of a development community that I am also part of. We work on a chat system called Arbor that is designed for collaboration in the open, primarily. So like open source communities and other groups who are trying to organize and get stuff done. And Arbor models conversation a little bit differently from conventional chat. It actually models your conversations as trees of messages, which allow you to like make a lot of sense of even highly divergent technical conversation, where your chat client can tell you, hey, this message that was recently posted and seems like a non sequitur, it doesn't relate to the things above it. It's actually a response to the message 4 up from it. You don't have to like walk backward reading to figure out, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Oh, it must be a response to that. It can just tell you. So it doesn't make any attempt in its current state to keep your messaging private. That's not the design goal that it's trying to achieve right now, though such things are on the roadmap. But it does make every effort to make your conversation clear, and it uses some techniques that allow you to run it fully decentralized. Like you mentioned Syncthing earlier. In the past, we've used Syncthing as the transport layer for sending Arbor messages, though we also have other protocols in place.
Yeah, because basically, when a chat is like one reply underneath the other, one reply, and you can get lost. That's what we're trying to say, that this one is more like a tree. This reply is from this like third message or something, so it's connected with that one, so you can keep track of that, because I see some schematics here on the website.
Yeah, let me see if I haven't tried to screen share from this computer in a really long time, but I could try and show you.
Is the website, because we can bring it up.
I can't show you the like actual chat interface in a website, but I can show you. Well, and if that's a blocker, then well. I mean, does the Jitsi screen share just not work well with the streaming setup?
It depends. We are like with little boxes, every one of us in the
so your little
in the
box
stream. So
your little box will be the stream. We could try
Yeah.
it though. I mean, if you want to see it in action.
If you want. Okay, if you want to, you can show.
Do it.
All right.
Just check the screen and you can make it
Yeah.
bigger. Shouldn't be a problem.
That's the one.
Let's see.
And it's possible that it just isn't going to do what I want because I have not tried it before. Yeah, I'm getting the sense that it is not working. So
It's just
That's
a
fine.
black screen for us.
yeah. Well, that's what I get for trying a feature that I haven't tested before while running Wayland. All right.
Well,
Tread.
yeah, but that's the idea here, that there are alternatives to chats too, and it's great to hear about this new chat. Do you package this to be like accessible through a browser, or just the packages as a for example for Linux to be able to install directly on?
We have a client that runs on every desktop OS and iOS and Android, but it does not currently run in the browser.
Yeah.
Damn.
And if I want to install it, I have to build it basically.
Oh, no, there's pre-built releases. Hang on. Well, I think our getting started docs will teach you how to do that. Let me just dig up the link to that. Amalith wrote it, actually.
I got it.
Yeah,
I see.
download a pre-built release. The getting started instructions include the address of our kind of development server infrastructure that you'll need to plug in to join. And just
Okay, that's
be
interesting.
aware that it is not, like, it's super important. I want everyone who tries it to understand it's not private, and it's immutable in its current form. So your message, once you send it, it's out of your control.
Oh no.
You know. So
Yeah, I'm very almost obsessed to test, especially for for TROM-Jar. I test so many hundreds and hundreds of applications, and sometimes I get like, oh my god, there are so many alternatives. I'm overwhelmed because there are so many from this being decentralized and open source to being like having lots of features from you can do video calls, you can file share and so forth. So I love going into this to this. I go to like this Arch Linux. They have this applications, huge list of applications. I'm going to them one by one to test on TROM-Jar, to bring them to, because we have on TROM-Jar we can install applications from our website directly, tromjar.com/apps. You can install that any application. So I love this. I love these things. I know for some people these things are boring and not important, but even those people spend most of their time nowadays online. They chat with people, they watch stuff. It's that's what it is. And actually, I wanted to bring this into discussion because we get it's already over 2 hours. And what is DRM? If you guys can explain, because people in the open source or free and open source community, as far as I know, they almost puke when they hear that word. It's like it's a really bad thing. Like DRM is like, oh my god, not DRM.
Cancer. It's cancer.
It's cancer. What is DRM? Because we have an article from Defective by Design. We feed news from them, and it's a short history of DRM. But what do you guys know about DRM? What's up with that? Anyone wants to give a shot?
I can talk about it if no one else wants to.
Yeah, sure.
So DRM is digital rights management. That's the acronym, and it governs how you can access how you can access content. So, for example, ebooks from Amazon are often protected with DRM, so you can only open them with Amazon's Kindle application or only on a Kindle e-reader. or some PDFs have DRM, so you can only open them with Adobe's PDF reader. You can't put them on your phone. You can't put them on your e-reader. You can't distribute them anywhere because they can't be opened. They can't be accessed. That's basically what it is.
What they do basically, I'm not sure if that's correct, but they encrypt it in a way, encrypt those files that they can only be decrypted with their specific software. And
Yes.
So they basically lock files, be it videos or documents or video or photos, which is quite awful because we are getting used to like someone say an MP4 file or MP3 even. No, you can open it with most players, but what if is this book that you can only be opened with Amazon's proprietary application, and that's what they are doing. And as far as I know, DRM is implemented kind of everywhere, right? Probably Netflix too. And they lock basically that it's the opposite of open source, right? That's what it is. Was this the same that, for example, DVDs with protections were all about, or is a similar thing? You can see the content, but you cannot copy it. Was that kind of the same?
If I remember correctly, yes.
So imagine you have or someone can say, what if you have I've heard this example, a toaster, and you can only toast bread, just this kind of bread. You can't just toast everything, or this bread only works to toast in this toaster, from Amazon. Kind of that's how it is, which is ridiculous to think. But the people are taking this, like they are implementing DRM everywhere. You might not be aware, but that's how it is. Basically, when you watch Netflix, basically that's what they are implementing. And as far as I know, what is that about being supported by default in browsers now? It's almost like you cannot access Netflix unless you have a DRM compatible browser that can. Yeah, so Netflix may not work in most browsers, but only Chrome, let's say, or now Firefox probably too. Which is, they lack you to that, because we have an article. Yeah, sure.
Another term people use for it is digital restrictions management, because it restricts how you can open the file.
Yeah, I think that's more correct to use that. Yeah. So what's so bad about proprietary software if they have good intention? Like, okay, we released a chat, like you guys made that chat. So what if you make it proprietary? Is it that bad to make it proprietary?
In that whatever innovations you come up with for that application, no one else can use those innovations. I'm not describing it well.
Nobody can benefit from.
Yes, no one can benefit from the innovations you've come up with. In addition, there's no way you can verify what's going on in the background. For all you know, it's like some Android apps will, because they're proprietary, you don't know that they're collecting information about all of your contacts and exfiltrating that data to their own servers for sale somewhere else. But with open source applications, you can verify that that is not happening.
If you build them yourself. Which is already kind of difficult. But I think that I might have an unusual line on this. I don't know. I'm not convinced that proprietary software is like fundamentally evil, because we don't have currently an economically viable alternative. Like, I love free and open source software. I make it. I cannot currently feed myself making it. Right. That's not an option. And so you can't you can't ask everyone everywhere building software to release all of it for free without providing them also a way to put food on the table. And I don't think that we've figured that out yet. I hope we do. But the people I know that are working on open source full time are a tiny, tiny fraction of people working on software. And then there's a huge incumbent psychology around intellectual property that would have to change. Like the legal frameworks of many countries would have to change. Because proprietariness is kind of baked into so much of what we do, patents and other intellectual property protection mechanisms. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is I certainly prefer free and open source software, but I don't personally think it's fair to demonize proprietary offerings when the people creating them don't seem to have an alternative that will cover their expenses.
That's always unfortunate, in our society, that people have to work basically all of their lives to access shit, basically access their food and pay their rent and so forth, have very little time to focus on what they will love to focus on, to create like open source software, to just create stuff for the sake of creating stuff, So they have to make a business, they have to make somehow, they have to extract some money out of their work. And sometimes, like you're saying, they're forced to make these things proprietary because they may need to sell them or to add new features and so forth. And I agree with you, that's extremely unfortunate, is maybe a forced move. Because imagine if let's just imagine that people have access had access to whatever they needed or wanted, there will not be much reasons to make a software proprietary, because what are you hiding it from? If you have no reasons, you just make it open and let others contribute to it. It'll be as simple as that. And I've read a lot about how it's such a struggle in the open source community for people to stay afloat, basically, and maintain this project. Such a struggle all the time. It's so unfortunate. Imagine if you can at least had access to our basic needs. Imagine if so many people could grow these passions into something much, much bigger. But as far as I know, these things are side jobs. Like even for you guys, probably, do you guys have a job and then you spend your free time doing these things?
Yeah, I think I work normal 40-hour weeks, and then I put in 10 to 20-hour weeks on open source as well.
Yeah. See, imagine if you could put, those 40 hours of work, or at least half of that, if you could put it into creating open source software, how much stuff you could create.
That is the dream.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people propose an universal basic income. Some people, we also talk about, I don't want to get too much into this discussion because it's a big discussion. We are at the end of this. But just to put it out there, we have a society, or we have so much stuff around. I mean, we go through with our books to how much we waste and so forth. If we could have access to at least some of that, so people don't spend so much time just working to survive, to be able to focus on their passions. Imagine how much we could create. Imagine how guys like you could focus on, how many things that can be invented. I mean, I'm amazed even like this with people like you guys who spend their free time creating software, how much is out there, and of great quality. So it's fantastic that you can take your time and do such things for free. It's extraordinary. And because we shouldn't spend too much time now, because it's only almost 3 hours.
What are you doing?
Yeah, what do I do? Sorry, Dan, I was at one point I didn't even, because I think you went offline or something, but I didn't get to bring it into discussion. But it was mostly about software. It's our discussion was about software, and if you want in a future TROM-Cast, we can make one specifically about the gift economy. If you want, we can discuss all about. What do you think about that? I think maybe it's going to be a good idea to discuss about gift economy.
Yeah, for me this was really nice to tune in and hear what you guys are doing. And yeah, I would be highly interested in doing something like this, do another TROM-Cast.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because as you said, what you guys are doing with open software is just amazing, and this is basically what I'm doing too. And if I may add like a positive twitch to it is, every time we do something for free, we enable another person to work less, and therefore also to do something for free if it's their choice. Because if you don't have to buy a certain software, you can save that money, and therefore you can spend it on something that is important to you, or maybe for someone else that in turn also can do something for free, and that perpetuates that idea of open source software, of free economy, where we don't have to be the slaves of that money system. So yeah, big respect to everyone doing that.
Yeah, that was a great input. Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. Yeah, if people have access, like free operating system and all kinds of programs and all kinds of media and so forth, they can spend less on that. They don't have to trade their life away in this system too much. Maybe they can focus on other things. So yeah, that's great.
Maybe one more word to that is what I also like to say to motivate people is, every time you do something for free, you basically take away from that capitalist system. That because the more time and money you invest into capitalism and proprietary software, or whatever it is that you sell, every time you do something for free, you take away from that, and therefore create a new system.
Yep. And now, guys, if you want to say some your last words, about about the subject, and then we can move quickly to those news that are not that related to the conversation.
Roger that.
Amoles and Chris, and let's start with
Eeny, meeny.
Amoles. Yeah, let's see what do you think about this subject of an alternative digital world? Is it possible to go away really from these Googles and Facebooks?
I don't know that it is 100% possible, because Google and other companies are such behemoths that in some way they will affect your life. But it is definitely possible to begin the process of moving away from them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And Chris, what do you think?
I think it's very difficult to escape from that system wholesale and bring your entire social network with you. But it is possible, using a lot of the tools that we looked at today, to take some major steps in that direction. And you can always encourage people to switch to tools that provide better privacy and control. And at the end of the day, it is a social and technical problem. It's, can we make better or equivalent tools with the same ease of use so that the friction is the same? And can we make sure people are aware they have the choice?
Yeah. And Alexio, what do you think? If you are still around.
Alexio.
Hey, Alexio. Don't sleep now.
Order me some sweet ass websites full of open source software, brother.
What do you think, Cody, then?
Oh, can we do it? I don't know, man. The technology arm seems like it's there, and the willpower seems like it's there. But yeah, like escaping with your social network is like, that's the part we're kind of missing. Because I'm even trying to think like how MySpace to Facebook just happened. It fucking just happened, right? And then everybody did the thing.
because now if you look at Facebook, you may. I'm thinking like, is it going to be another social network that will make Facebook complete like Facebook, that
Right.
is not owned by Facebook, not Instagram. How did that happen between MySpace and Facebook? Maybe now it's not going to happen anymore because they just buy them.
Facebook doesn't seem to think so. They offered up their all their data to be like in like API form or something like this. I remember reading this or something, that they're ready to be like, when the next social network comes, Facebook's like, okay, like fucking take it. Take it away. They know their death is near. It's near.
I've read recently that they bought this Giphy.com
Oh yeah.
Facebook, which is kind of interesting because even Signal uses that for GIFs and others. So it's okay, more data for them. Let's see. Yeah, I will say that it's so difficult, even if you create so great alternatives for these Twitters and Facebooks and so forth. They have so much power so much power in this market. We can try. Let's see what is going to be. I'm definitely, I migrated. A few years ago I was using Windows. Now I'm using Linux and I'm using all kinds of free tools, open source tools. And I converted my family. I converted my sister. I converted the people nearby me. So I don't know. I'm spreading this a bit. Yeah, let's see. It's going to be very difficult, but it's definitely fantastic, Amolit and Chris and others, to see you guys working on these things and to accept to participate on this TROM-Cast. I want to do another one in a few months' time and invite more of you people and talk about new such tools. And we are going to promote this a lot more. And yeah, if you want to stick around, if you can go if you want, or we are going to go to some news.
And it's great to see you guys running TROMland. That's really great to see too. Yeah.
Yeah, and we are going to maybe get ourselves into that Libre host.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I will see you guys later.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very
stopping
much.
by.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Let's bring the positive stuff now.
Okay.
We need an intro for our
news section.
Trom news. Just news.
Trom news.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Laser beams and stuff. Woo! Trom news. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
What do we have in here?
Some blood tests using blood to detect cancer. Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know if you've read this, but it's like quite a promising thing. People were searching for this kind of stuff for a while now. To imagine that, seeing your blood, all kinds of cancers 4 or 5 years before they develop to be dangerous. It was kind of like dreamy ambition, whatever, a few years ago, but now it seems that it's they can detect from their tests a lot of cancers, even like a few years before they even develop into becoming dangerous. So it's amazing. Imagine getting a blood test and be like, okay, I think you have, you are predisposed to this, so you have cancer. Yeah. The problem, a problem with this is that, well, even if you detect that, if you cannot solve it, it's almost like Alzheimer. Okay, let's say you can detect Alzheimer 10 years earlier. And there are genes actually that you can do some genetic tests and they will tell you you are quite predisposed to having Alzheimer. But then you're like, okay, now I'm fucked. It's nothing for me to do. So you have to take that into account.
Right.
But that cannot stop progress. It's not like, we're stopping here with detecting cancer because we cannot do anything about it. So yeah, but interesting news.
All right.
So that was positive, yeah.
That's positive. Also dive into summer citizen science. That's pretty positive.
Like this.
Swim. Go for a swim.
Yeah, this is again. We're mentioning this for a few TROM-Casts now. Citizen scientists. If I wasn't so busy with TROM and stuff, I'll get involved with some of these things, like all kinds of projects that you can contribute to develop all kinds of to put your input to all kinds of scientific experiments. which is nice. Go and count the whales. Count the whales.
Count the whales, count the snails.
Count the snails. Count those trails.
I gotta count them. Somebody's gotta. All right. Oh man, no.
Oh my god, no.
No. Pirate.
No.
No. Big no. Pirate Bay uploads should not get paid.
What do you think, huh?
Should not get paid. I'm guessing, how do they, like, is this through ads and stuff they're talking about?
No, they say that some proposed like, what if we pay people to upload shit and
Hell yeah.
also, but there is such a slippery slope, and people from Pirate Bay was like, "Oh, fuck off, motherfucker! We don't do this. We never did that." So I like that. Okay, don't do it, because I think it's a bad incentive if you pay people to upload shit, and then you probably will charge others to download shit.
Oh yeah,
so
you
it's
don't
not
want
going
that.
to
Yeah.
be. Yeah, so,
I can
it's
see.
not going to be that great.
I can see maybe what they were trying to do, and like, yeah, get all the uploads you can up there, but then there's the other side where it's like, okay, we can start to sell, and that's where it goes bad. I don't think the idea that
That's
you're
what
encouraging
private-
content. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what private trackers do, actually. And I know a few because I'm part of one big one in Romania. They sell you VIP accounts, meaning they give you more upload ratio. Because they can track to see if you download something and you don't upload,
Yep.
you have a bad reputation.
Oh, I know.
But if you want to buy your way like Bezos did, like this, you just pay some dineros and become a VIP. Yeah.
Dinero. Yeah. No. Okay.
No, let's say no to that, and let's say also no to China.
Launching a
Who wants to create
digital currency? What could this be?
Yeah, it's like the digital. I didn't know this, but China, they don't really have payments with cards. They don't have I didn't know that. Credit
with
cards. You know,
cards?
you can just go to China and pay with a card. Really, it seems that they don't quite have that. They skipped that step because it developed in this economy so quickly. They went from like cash to paying with the phone.
Oh, yep.
So WeChat and QQ and stuff like that, they pay directly. So they're like, well, fuck, we don't have credit cards anyways. Let's make just a digital currency, which is just a fucking currency. You know, it's like as good as the dollar or a euro.
Okay, China.
Yeah.
All right. You got a
What about?
mission overview for NASA's Perseverance Mars rover?
Do you know that they went to Mars now?
It's going to Mars.
They went to Mars already. They put that machine into a place where it is very likely was a lake. Was a lake in that, and it will land and scoop stuff and
samples.
Another rover.
Another rover.
When you look at that rover, it's actually a lot bigger than people realize. It's not like a pet rover, you know. It's bigger than a car.
No, yeah.
It's a big fucking thing. Yeah, robots on Mars. Okay, nice.
I like it.
Nice.
The perils and pitfalls of doing your own research about COVID-19 and any other.
You do it?
I'm actually a doctor, you know. I diagnose myself just all the time. 100% success rate, I promise you.
And you are healthy, huh?
Oh, very healthy. God.
And biased.
Slightly biased.
It's a good article about why, you know, it's difficult for anyone to do their own research. Of course, we do our research for our books and so forth, but we quote other research. What they mostly mean is those like very animated people on Facebook who's like, I've done my own research, you know, and vaccines create COVID, and you know, showcasing how even doctors, you know, get into conspiracy theories because there is no such thing as like a smart human, whatever. You know things from a fucking domain. Oh, I'm a surgeon. Okay, so what does that have to do with the fucking COVID viruses and virology, right? So it's a good article to read. By the way, all of these links, you find them in the description here or show notes in tromsite.com/videos.
Do it.
Yeah, go to TROM-Cast and stuff. Okay.
We are on. Should we bypass phase 3 trials of the COVID-19 vaccine? Dun dun dun.
This goes hand in hand with another article that we have about the Russian vaccine. So it was this big. Have you heard that Russia has the cure for COVID?
No, why?
Yeah, Canada couldn't do it, Europe couldn't do it, US couldn't do it,
Not a chance.
Germany couldn't do it, and as part of Europe, but don't tell anyone, Germany is better than Europe. They couldn't do it. Romania couldn't do it, can you believe that?
No.
So Russia, have you heard about this? No? Russia is announced yesterday. They're like, oh, guess what? So we have a vaccine for COVID, and we start to distribute it in mass from October. And everybody was like, even the World Health Organization was like, excuse me, what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't share any data with anyone, so they are the proprietary way of doing software, basically, or doing research. And just some details, like brief details, people dug into this, and to make a vaccine, you have to go to 3 stages. Phase 1, with a few tens of people, just to see if there is no major effect. Like, if people start to become purple and they don't breathe, stop it. It's no way to go forward, right? Second is with hundreds of people to like test again the efficiency of the virus and again safety. And that's with a few hundreds of people. And stage 3 is with tens of thousands of people to see how that reacts when you have lots of people. Is it efficient? Is it still safe and so forth? Right. So this takes a while. Well, Russia, they started in, I think, April or June. Phase 1 clinical trials, 78 people, right? The results seem positive. That's what they say. I mean, no, they publish those ones. And then they went in stage 2 clinical trial and they say, oh, we tested it on some soldiers. No, they wanted to test it. Yes, I swear on my Russian heart, they said yes.
Yes.
All of them were smiling and stuff, and they seem happy. So yeah, they did phase 1 clinical trial, and then phase 2, they supposedly did phase 2 clinical trial. So that can involve 70 people, maybe a few hundred maximum of people. They didn't showcase any real result, and then they said, I think we are bored enough. Let's just say that we have the cure. And then no phase 3 clinical trial, and they say, yeah, I think it's safe for our Russian people. Let's just experiment. And from October, they want to distribute this to nurses and old people, right? So they want to get rid of nurses, and old people.
Yeah.
And from January next year, they want to distribute it to the rest. But that's, I mean, in essence, was just a PR move, for Putin and Russia's like, oh, we are so brave and powerful. We are so much better than other countries. We made the vaccine.
Vaccine.
They even named it Sputnik 5. Because Sputnik was the first one. They beat the Americans of putting a ship into space, a spaceship, And yeah, it's such a disgusting PR bullshit move,
Right.
but they play with people. They play with their health, so basically they are a bit full of shit. It might be that the vaccine is safe, but it's just by coincidence. If they distribute it to people and be safe, yes, but they skipped a very important safe check, clinical trial. So if your mother Russia says they have a vaccine, just don't do it right now, all right? That's the idea.
Oh,
That's the idea. Whew.
caramba.
Yeah.
All right.
But speaking of clinical trials, is this website, did you know about this retractionwatch.com?
I'm not.
No. They keep an eye on articles, scientific articles that they get retracted. No, it's really cool. It's we added it recently to our curator news. This article is about their team. And I just wanted to mention that even they are so struggling financially. They have just a few people working on that, and they rely on donations and grants. But yeah, they struggle, but they do a great job, showcasing articles that are bullshit science, bad science, BS. They showcase on their website. It's good to see such people. They do it out of passion, but they are very well known in the scientific community, actually. Which is, yeah. And I have one question for you, Cody.
What is it?
Okay, but don't look at the screen. Which is the oldest discovered cancer in any animal? The oldest. How old? I give you a clue. It's the dinosaurs.
What? Dinosaur cancer?
How old?
70 something, 75 million years old cancer, maybe. Yes.
Well, 76.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, you're such a good actor.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, they discovered this old bone cancer in dinosaurs. So it's old. Whoever says that, I think Americans invented the cancer to sell medicine or whatever. I was like, well, I'm not sure because dinosaurs and shit,
Dinosaurs were found a long time ago.
Older than Americans? I don't think so. You know that there is this museum in US. This Christian guy made a museum of life, but based on Bible, and he has these representations of dinosaurs and people.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
And Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Not Noah. Noah's Ark. Noah. Yeah. Americans and dinosaurs. We are the first people to colonize dinosaurs. Yeah.
Ancestors riding
Yeah.
T-Rex.
So these are the news, huh?
That's the news. That's what I got.
Yeah. So I think Alexia is long. He's sleeping now. God bless his soul. The idea is that we release a new project, TROMland.org. It's good that it's another way to showcase to people this trade-free concept is more than just the tools. The tools themselves are really great, but if you don't have a purpose behind them, a greater purpose, in my view at least, it's not going to lead you much. The same way that in an open source community they have this purpose of get rid of the proprietary software. We say the same. In trade free is great because trade is bad. If you make even an open source software, but you charge people. Say we make now a Nextcloud installation, and we say if people donate to us $20 a month, we give you 10 more gigabytes of storage. It's a slippery slope, because if we depend on that, we are going to focus more on that than the rest. So it's a slippery slope. Don't do it, people. So yeah, I'm happy about this TROMland. I'm happy Alexio did a fantastic job, and he's basically in charge of that, and he's going to add more and more stuff. Go and use our circs as a search engine. If you click it and then in the browser click those 3 dots in Firefox and just click add to the search engine, just add it. You can add it to yours. Then you go to the preferences and make it as default. I will make it as default in TROMjaro too. So use circs. Imagine that you can replace your search engine, and you do this. You will use it every day. Okay, keep that in mind. Use QTorrent, BitTorrent, how do you call that? Beta torrent to download and upload files. Use Gifre to share files. It's such a great one. We have all kinds of tools there. So, and we are going to add more. I'm super stoked about this. It's super great. Love it. Yeah. So what do you want to tell humanity, Cody? We have 2 more minutes maybe of this.
We have 2 more minutes.
If the world will watch you now.
What do we tell them about TROMland, or what are we, or
no, about whatever you want.
Anything.
It's your time.
Oh, jeez. The whole world's
I'm
watching.
pregnant.
How did you get that information? Only Google's supposed to know. And Bezos. No, I'm ordering those hormones and stuff, man. Knows. Soon.
Oh,
You'll be an uncle, Tio. I promise. How do you feel
I'll be
about
an
that?
uncle?
Yeah, you're gonna be the uncle to the child that's coming. I just named it just now. Not biologically, I hope.
That was
But yeah,
confusing.
it's
There
very.
was some
That's what
confusing
I
30
wanted.
seconds.
What I wanted to share with the world. Okay, there was
Mhm.
nonsensical. Nonsensical.
Nonsensical. All right. Next time we will do a TROM-Cast with not about software, but about other things, maybe society related, but maybe about our past. You know, did we live better in the past? Maybe I want to do that one. Hunter gatherers and stuff like that.
Ah.
Wild sex and pedophilia and so. No, not this. It's just wild sex and stuff.
Just wild.
Wild sex. Okay, so we did another TROM-Cast. Yeah.
83. Put it in the bucket.
Hey, 553. Yes. Okay, you can close this one. Put it into the abyss.
Okay.
Abyss,
Sending it into the abyss.
sending that. Bye bye.
Bye bye.